All right, got your video here. I do apologize. Your front view video, something went really weird, and the lights are just flashing like crazy, and I could not, in the settings in editing it, get it to switch, and it was just completely unviewable. So we just got your front view here, but that's a-okay. Um, because what I wanted to talk to you about specifically that we made note here is use your trunk as much as the arm. And that's going to be something that we can see pretty easy from this side view. So not having the front video is okay. Excuse me. So we got this good big aggressive leg lift. We got this drift going down the mound. One thing that I mentioned to Coach Derek that really popped out to me was how late you separate these hands. Bam, they're just now separated. More times than not, guys are starting to separate them like around here, if not even like around here. So the fact that you feel comfortable holding it till here definitely stood out to me. So if you ever feel like you're rushed, like you're rushing with your upper half to get on time, or you feel like a lot of misses are high arm side, or you're yanking low glove side, I would potentially look to just break these hands, separate these hands a little bit sooner. But if you don't have a lot of high arm side misses or low glove side yanks, and you don't feel rushed with your upper half, then continue to do you. What we can see is as, boom, that front foot is getting into the ground, we got a good pattern of that arm line to be loading up for us. We can see as we get that front foot into the ground, we got that upper lower half separate, and that upper half is fighting to stay back. This lower half is trying to fire towards the target, so that way this rotational energy can get sent up for that upper half to capture and use in its rotation going forward. Now, the note that I said is use your trunk. And if you're not familiar with what your trunk is just this big old slab of strength right here. Our shoulders through our hips. This is our trunk. And our arm is connected to this trunk. So the more rapidly I rotate the trunk, a relaxed arm will just come along with it, right? So I want you to kind of visualize this back shoulder and this front hip. So your back shoulder and your front hip. I want you, when you're throwing, to think about bringing those two together. And the more that you can bring those two together, the more out in front you're going to start to get with release, and the quicker and more tight that rotation is going to be. So what we can look at is right here, we said that your front foot is, bam, in the ground. And what we can do is kind of draw a line through the center of your lower half and up through the center of your body. And now we will get you to release, where we can say that ball is in your hand, coming out of your hand, out of your hand. So we'll go right there with it. And if we then go again through this line, through your hips, through your back, through the center of your head, we can say your trunk helped you accelerate your throw out in front by this much, whatever degree this is. If we're trying to get our trunk more involved with the throw and we get that out in front more, two things are going to happen. This angle is going to increase, meaning our trunk got more involved, but even more so, this ball is going to hopefully still be in our hand for a little bit longer. And or maybe you don't know, but you might, the further out in front and release I get, the more my hand begins to turn over into a pronated position. So if I am releasing the ball here, it's going to come very much with that true backspin. But if I get out in front a little bit more, now that ball is coming with a little bit of counterspin to get my run and sink on that fastball. So getting the trunk more involved, we could see a little extra velo, and we could also see a little extra movement on our pitches. If I got these angles again, so let me draw your OG line, and then we will do the release line. So there's you, okay? Now let's get some of these big leaguers up, and let's put Pablo in that same original line. Excellent. And then now we'll progress Pablo into his release. So somewhere in between these two frames here. So we'll just kind of draw that line again. So then here's Pablo's trunk. And this was your trunk. And then let's get DeGrom up here. Bam, and we'll slide him back to that original line. And then we'll let DeGrom continue to go, and the ball is out somewhere in between these two frames as well. And DeGrom's line is matching Pablo's line pretty closely. And then let's get big old Logan Gilbert out here. And we'll get him into his moment of foot strike right there. And we'll get his line up there. We'll continue Gilbert. And we can say somewhere between these two frames. And we draw that line. It's, again, very similar to those first three guys. Just in case you think I preloaded those three guys just to fit this narrative, let's pick someone else that you know of. I'm trying to think of a tall guy. Oh, we can use Chap. Granted, he's left-handed, but what we can do is we can flip him. How do I do that? Here we go. All right, so now we just made Chapman a righty, and we'll do the same thing for him. Chapman's foot's in the ground, so we get that line up to the center of his body, progress him to release, and that ball's out right here. And again, Chappie's on about that same angle as well. No, I don't want to save it as a righty. So hopefully this is helping you see how we can get some extra power by just getting this trunk out in front a little bit more, thinking about driving this thing down, driving this thing out. And that's just going to help us get a little bit extra power on our pitches and a little bit extra movement potentially on our pitches as well. Because you do a lot of things really, really well already. Coach Derek and I were both saying for a guy that's got as long of limbs as you do, and obviously I'm a tall guy, not compared to Coach Derek tall, but I'm a tall guy myself. I was built just like you growing up. I'm sure Coach Derek was as well. It's tough for guys like us at a young age to have all four limbs under control and being consistent with them, and you do a pretty damn good job with that. So Coach Derek's going to have a lot of fun working with you this winter with this and whatever else he thinks can help make you a better pitcher. This drill here is going to help us learn how to rotate our chest forward, taking our back shoulder and driving it forward as we rotate versus those shoulders opening up and flying out as we rotate. We want to find an object that has a little bit of a padding so we can send that forearm right into it without having to worry about it hurting. So you can see the side one, I had it, but the front view one, it's missing, so I had a little bruise when I got done with it. But we're just working on going back and forth, back and forth. Our chest is tall when we're back, and then it's leaning forward when we're making contact with that wall or wherever that object is that we're hitting. All right, so we got your two videos here synced up to the moment that ball comes out of your hand. Give you the opportunity to watch it a couple times here through to be able to see what your body is doing compared to the notes that was given. And then we will break it down into some more depth and then use some big league video examples to really help drive home the point for you. All right, so the 2 points that we mentioned, we'll tackle the easiest one first, which is finish through release. Okay. And if we just watch as those shoulders get all the way rotated towards home and that ball is still in our fingertips, all of this motion up to here has been to accelerate the throw. Go, 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 go. So just like a car, if I'm driving and just pedal to the metal with that accelerator, after I get through the finish line, I got to start to slow down. Okay? And we don't have a full lap around the racetrack to slow down. We have very little time to slow down. So we have to make sure that we use as much distance as we possibly have to slow down this violent movement in a very small window of time. And what we're going to notice is that everything with your lower body just kind of dies out. Right? Our hips just went from being this way to having to get this way, which means they rotated here aggressively. Or they should at least be aggressively. Your way of knowing if it was aggressive or not would be if I go from 0 degrees to 90 degrees and I stop at 90 degrees, I probably did not move through that 90 aggressively. But if I go from 0 degrees and then I rotate to 90 degrees, and then after I fire that pitch, I have to go another 30 degrees with my hips before they're stopped, this rotation was probably aggressive to make it last that long before I slowed down. But what we see with you is, boom, your hips have gone here. Now they just stay here. And in fact, on this pitch, you fall backwards. You fall backwards. You fall backwards. You fall backwards. Right? We have to learn how to finish our pitch. If I just throw these 3 dudes up here and we get them to release and just watch the violence in this finish. Even in slow motion, look how much everything had to rotate around. We see his numbers now. We see the back of his pants. Where did all that originate? The front and the front. And then they rotate 90 degrees violently. And then it's going to take some time to slow down all that violence. Pull up DeGrom. We'll get him to release. And then we'll watch all of his energy come through after. And then we'll do the same thing with Logan Gilbert. We'll get him to release. And we watch all that energy after. Let you watch it all through. See, finishing that pitch. Okay? Versus bleh, everything just bleh, dying out. Let you watch it one more time, start to finish, to see that. Okay, a foot gets in the ground, time to throw, and then bleh, thing just dies out. So that's what we mean about finishing through release. Your second note is your arm path here. All right, hopefully this was something that was jumping off the screen when you watched it originally. And I just want you to watch. The ball is starting here, and then it gets to here. We do a great job of just letting it fall out of our glove. But now what we want to think about is don't leave the ball behind. Your whole body is about to travel down this mound. Don't let the throw or the hand go in the opposite direction of it. Allow this hand to stay with you, okay? And what we're going to notice is this hand just constantly and continuously goes away from you. And now it's got to catch back up. And look how fast and rapid it's going to have your arm go from fully extended this way to bending here. And then now I didn't load my arm up. I dropped my elbow down. And now I'm acting like I am about to throw the ball submarine, even though that's not my arm slot, right? Just look how much your elbow is dipping down to try to make this throw, right? We got this glove that's got sent way over here. You're flinging this glove energy into first, which is going to cast your arm out towards third, and that's why you got this huge dippy arm slot that's like scooping almost underneath the ball when you throw, right? We can see right here you're underneath this ball trying to get things back out in front, right? We need to think about this ball staying with your body. If this is here and the hip is here, and then now the hip is here, we want to see that hand like here, and then working its way up this way, staying closer to the body. If we just use these 3 random guys that I've been using for completely different reasons, and we just watch DeGrom, right? His ball falls out of his glove just like yours did. Right? Falling out of the glove just like yours did. But now notice how that hand stays with the body a little bit better. Right? As the body is going forward, so is that hand. And we can kind of say, like, if we watch the knee and the hand, like the knee and the hand aren't going to get too far away from one another in terms of distance, right? Just a little angle to get to all of these points. Do that same thing with Pablo. Right, that ball just falls out of the glove, and then now that ball stays with the body a lot better. Stays with the body so that the arm can load where? Arm can load up versus your elbow loading down. Your elbow loading down. Down, right? The only reason you should be doing that is if your name is, where's my Cooper? Unless your name is Coop, we don't need to be getting all of that lean going. We don't need to have that elbow be dropping down low, because why? You're not Cooper, right? This is not you. Right? The only reason your arm is coming out over here is because this is slinging over here in your arm path. Between your arm path and this glove and shoulder opening early, that's why this is dipping downwards, right? You're angled down. So we got kind of a lot of funk in this delivery that we're going to want to clean up. Right? The glove getting out here is a big part of things, because now that's opening you up over here. That's dropping this down over here, and then that's really slinging this arm out. But we also got to address and work on how this arm is getting to its loaded position. We got this little jingling of the wrist. And then we got this rapid bending of my elbow to bring things back to my body. And then I got me dipping and slipping underneath myself to try to make that throw. We can get a couple different benefits out of this drill here. The first is learning how to sit into our back hip, how to keep that weight back as our body progresses out towards the target. We can also use this drill to help us continue to feel that hand separation and that good smoothness in where the glove's going. We can work on the arm path while we're doing this drill. And we can also be working on keeping that front leg closed until the drill stops. And once the drill stops, that front foot should be in a neutral or closed position, working on not opening up. So this drill here is going to help us with a few things. First, helping us keep our glove in a good finished position as we are rotating those shoulders to throw the baseball by keeping that hand on the PVC pipe on the outside of our front foot. But even more importantly, this drill is helping us learn how to rotate our shoulders and our hips through release and not just stopping at release. So being able to hold onto that PVC pipe and rotate my shoulders through release, I can rotate around that PVC pipe. The next stage here, we can see we added getting the shoulders back to the position that they are at when we get our front foot into the ground during our pitching delivery. We can see we get that hand that's holding onto the PVC pipe and get that out as if our glove is getting into its separation. So we'll see that here. And then we'll work on swiveling it into our chest and then finishing the rest of the throw through rotation. And then eventually we'll be able to work it all into one motion where we work it back and then come all the way through in one smooth motion. And I have the PVC pipe in front of my foot here, so that way I can make sure that my back foot is coming to a similar position each and every time at the end of the drill. See that my hips go all the way through, the shoulders come all the way through each and every time, but that foot and that head stay right on line. All right, man, we got your two clips here synced up to the moment that ball is coming out of your hand. We'll let you watch it a couple times through so you can kind of put together the note that was given at the beginning of the chapter here to what you're seeing. And then we'll discuss it. And then we'll use some big league video examples to help really drive home the point with that note. All right, and that note that was given to you at the beginning of your video is mentioning your arm is a little late. All right, and what I mean by late is once that front foot gets into the ground, boom, our arm needs to be locked and loaded and ready to go. Because foot gets down, then it's time to throw. All right, so on this next time through, we'll pause it again when that front foot gets into the ground, so that way we can discuss it in more depth. So bam, 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 and right there, okay? So what we want to look at is, see how we can see your arm right here? We can see your arm because as your arm, and if we shift our focus to the side view again, as your arm is loading up, it's not able to get into the full loaded position, which would be more straight behind your head, or if you got great range of motion through your scapulars, you'd get that arm loaded even behind your back, where it'd be visible on this side. But because the arm is getting to the loaded position too late, it can't get all the way to the loaded position before it's time to start coming through, right? So once that front foot hits the ground, it's time for the hand to come through. And what we're going to notice is, boom, the foot's in the ground already, and this arm hasn't even gotten loaded up all the way. So it's not going to be able to get loaded up all the way because the shoulders are going to start to rotate to throw, which means the arm can't keep going this way if the shoulders want to start rotating this way. So what we're going to notice is that your hand almost never gets above your elbow. It only ever gets like right here, and then we start to throw. So we know that because we look at the side view, and here's your elbow that just popped out, right? We can see how that's moving right there. That's your elbow right here of your throwing arm. And here's your hand. So we know your arm is going on this angle right now. Now it's going on this angle, and this angle, and this angle. But we can notice as it's getting closer and closer to up and down, your shoulders are already rotating, right? Your shoulders have already begun to open up, right? So now your shoulders are rotating more and more and more. And now finally, we could say the ball is above the elbow. But the hand has finally gotten above the elbow because why? We're starting to rotate. Rotate. The elbow is going to the hand now instead of the hand going to the elbow. So if I turn this way, we can see it a little bit easier. Your elbow right now is going to the hand instead of the hand loading back. So we got to find a way to get this arm loaded up sooner and earlier so it's ready to fire forward on time. And because it's late to get there, it can't fully get there. So if we used a video example of this, right, we could say, right, boom, the foot's hitting the ground, and we can see the hand over here. So let me get some front view videos for us, and I'll pick some guys that hopefully you know the names of. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, my Ben Joyce video is from his Tennessee days, so it's not the most clear, right? But bam, there's that foot in the ground, and where's his arm? You see it back here. He's got tremendous scapular range of motion. Next guy, Skeens. We'll do the same thing. All right, foot's getting into the ground. Bam. Where's it? The arm's loaded back here, not over here. Next guy, DeGrom. Same thing. As that foot's getting into the ground, bam. Where's that arm up? Loaded up back here. What we got here? Wheeler. Bam. That foot's getting in the ground. Where's that arm? Way back in that loaded position. So then we got you, and where's that arm at when that foot hits the ground? It's over here. So we've got to learn how to get it loaded on time. And the only way you're going to get it fully loaded on time is got to be earlier because you're late. So that's what the note means when we say your arm is a little late. It's just not getting into that loaded position, that 90-90 by the time that front foot hits the ground. It's late to get there, so it can only get to this side of my head instead of the back side of my head. You do a lot of things really well, though. We got good glove path. We got good glove finish. Our eyes stay on the target. Our lower half does some pretty good things. Eyes stay squared up. We got good lower half finish. We're stable. Our energy is going where we want it to go. We got a lot of good things going on into this delivery. We just got to work on getting this arm to be on time with the rest of our body. We can get a couple different benefits out of this drill here. The first is learning how to sit into our back hip, how to keep that weight back as our body progresses out towards the target. We can also use this drill to help us continue to feel that hand separation and that good smoothness in where the glove's going. We can work on the arm path while we're doing this drill. And we can also be working on keeping that front leg closed until the drill stops. And once the drill stops, that front foot should be in a neutral or closed position, working on not opening up. All right, we got your two videos here synced up to the point of which it comes out of your hand. We'll let it play a couple times here through so you have an opportunity to see what you look like, and then kind of can compare those to the notes that were given at the beginning of your chapter here. And then we'll use some big league video examples to help really drive home the point of these mechanics. All right, and the first point we're going to talk about is foot down, then throw. Okay, foot down, then throw. So if we take a look at those videos again, what we're going to want to watch is just this leg lift leg that's coming up. And what we want to do is think our upper body is trying to remain as still, relaxed, and quiet and not rotating until after this front foot gets into the ground. Okay. So we will highlight that foot right there, and we'll say that it's not in the ground yet. Now it's in the ground, right? Now it's in the ground. Now it's in the ground. And what can we notice? We can notice that these shoulders are starting to want to rotate early. Early meaning, especially even in this clip here, this foot isn't all the way down yet. Now it is. And look how much you're coming through on this throw here. We need to think foot goes down and then shoulders rotate around. You're trying to throw this baseball before we even have 2 points of connection into the ground. Look at that. You're trying to rotate and throw before even a heel is touching the ground. So that's putting tremendous stress on our arm. It's going to drastically have an impact on our velocity. It's going to start to put stress in our shoulder where we don't want it to. Our elbow may start even getting impacted because of how low your elbow is. That's our second note. We're not going to get there yet, but that's your second note, is about that elbow positioning. I want to first show you some big league videos of what it looks like to get that front foot in the ground and those shoulders not have rotated yet. Okay, so we're getting that opportunity to see if we were able to keep the upper body exactly like this and have that foot all the way in the ground, we'd be fantastic. But because it takes until here to get that foot in the ground, we can see that our arm is almost fully laid back and our shoulders are almost completely rotated towards our target at this point in time. So if I just used, let me get Pablo Lopez up here. It's probably a name hopefully you're familiar with. And I will pause it here, and we will slow it down so we can watch how this lower body is rotating forward. Boom, that foot is in the ground. That front foot in the ground. Front foot in the ground. And what can we notice? We can notice that this front foot is in the ground. Bam. And what else can we notice? We can notice that we can see this entire blurry Minnesota logo on his shirt. There would be no way we could read that if he was rotating home. We come over to you. We can't read your hit dogs anymore from this side view. But we can of Lopez. There's you. Here's Lopez. Big difference in that upper body. Your foot is in the ground. Your foot is in the ground. Lopez's foot is in the ground. His shoulders have separated from his hips a lot more. Your shoulders and your hips are very much in the same alignment. He is creating tension to then fire and release. You've created no tension, and you're just going to sling and drag. So that's visually what that looks like from the side view when our lower half rotates, lands, and the upper half stays back. We can use DeGrom here to show what that side view, or I'm sorry, that front view would look like when we do that same thing. All right. Take you back. Your upper body position looks like DeGrom's right here. Unfortunately, DeGrom is fully in the ground. Your foot has not yet gotten there. So we take DeGrom back to kind of a similar foot position as you, and we would say, for DeGrom would be about right there, and you right there. So now what we'll do is we'll take each of you guys a little bit further, and we'll put you now, your foot all the way, bam, in the ground. And we'll take DeGrom, bam, his foot in the ground. And we can just see those huge differences in those upper body positions. You are fully rotated through. DeGrom is fully rotated back. We have no upper-lower half separation here. We have maximum upper-lower half separation here. His hip is firing. His shoulder is back. Your hip has fired. Your shoulder is forward. That's the separation. That's where the power comes from. That's where the huge reduction in arm stress occurs. Our ability to make the pitch have movement and life. Everything is stemming from this. The biggest thing for you, though, for this is your arm's health, okay? We want this arm to be healthy, and how you're moving your body on the mound, the order of your movements is putting your arm at a very high category for injury as you make throws like this over and over and over and over and over again, and you make throws harder and harder and harder from this type of position. The second thing that was noted was load my arm up, okay? And what that looks like is as their hands separate, right? Some guys send it straight down. Some guys send it on an angle. Some guys kind of pull it straight back, right? Everyone has their own thing, but what we got to make sure of is that when it comes time to load this arm, right here is time to load. The hand needs to get above the elbow, okay? And what your body does more of, instead of the hand coming up, you allow the elbow to go down. So if we watch, boom, that elbow has gone down beneath that line, and that is the reason that the hand and the ball have gone above that line. But now as we get into that foot hitting the ground position, we want to see more of that throwing arm, shoulder to elbow, having more of a 90-degree bend in our armpit and a 90-degree bend in the elbow. So that way, as my shoulders rotate around and this arm lays back, it's going forward during that time and not having to go up and then try to go down. That's when tremendous stress runs through the front of the shoulder and through the front of the elbow. So if we then use another guy, we'll stick with DeGrom, and we can do DeGrom with that same thing, right? We got his angle here. As that arm is loading up, we can see the hand is going up significantly more than the elbow is going down. So that line is going through both the elbow and the hand. And then when that foot gets into the ground right there, the elbow is just a little bit lower than that line, but look how much higher the hand is. And then now if we drew those lines, here's that 90-degree-ish bend in the armpit and that 90-ish degree bend in the elbow, like I was just saying. We can do that same thing with Pablo, right? Here's that point in time where from shoulder to hand, and then loading the arm up. Loading the arm up versus dropping the elbow down. So that way he's got that 90-ish degree angle in the elbow and the 90-ish degree angle in the armpit. Loading the arm up. Loading the arm up to throw versus loading the elbow down to throw. That's what we mean when we say load the arm up. I'll let you watch that one more time so you can see how as that hand is going back, the elbow then drops down. Elbow is going to go down, 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 instead of hand going up, 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 up. So those are the two things that we're going to want to work on. But we do a lot of good things in our delivery. We got a nice big leg lift. We got a glove action that's really working really well for us. It's keeping us good and closed. We're not opening up. Our eyes are on the target real well. Our hips are able to rotate and finish our throw. We do a lot of things really well. We just need to clean up these two things so our arm stays healthy and safe, and we can start maximizing the power of which we pitch with. So this drill here is going to help us with a few things. First, helping us keep our glove in a good finished position as we are rotating those shoulders to throw the baseball by keeping that hand on the PVC pipe on the outside of our front foot. But even more importantly, this drill is helping us learn how to rotate our shoulders and our hips through release and not just stopping at release. So being able to hold onto that PVC pipe and rotate my shoulders through release, I can rotate around that PVC pipe. The next stage here, we can see we added getting the shoulders back to the position that they are at when we get our front foot into the ground during our pitching delivery. We can see we get that hand that's holding onto the PVC pipe and get that out as if our glove is getting into its separation. So we'll see that here. And then we'll work on swiveling it into our chest and then finishing the rest of the throw through rotation. And then eventually we'll be able to work it all into one motion where we work it back and then come all the way through in one smooth motion. And I have the PVC pipe in front of my foot here, so that way I can make sure that my back foot is coming to a similar position each and every time at the end of the drill. You can see that my hips go all the way through, the shoulders come all the way through each and every time, but that foot and that head stay right on line. We can get a couple different benefits out of this drill here. The first is learning how to sit into our back hip, how to keep that weight back as our body progresses out towards the target. We can also use this drill to help us continue to feel that hand separation and that good smoothness in where the glove's going. We can work on the arm path while we're doing this drill. And we can also be working on keeping that front leg closed until the drill stops. And once the drill stops, that front foot should be in a neutral or closed position, working on not opening up. All right, so we got your two video clips here synced up to the point of which the ball is coming out of your hands. We're gonna let you watch it a couple times here, and then we'll discuss the note that was provided before your chapter began. And then we'll get you some big league videos to compare and contrast our body's movements. So that note that was given to you at the beginning was use my lower half. All right, right now, what I just want you to pay attention to is how big your stride is and how much it looks like those legs are getting involved in the throw. And when we play it this next time through, we'll pause it again when that front foot gets in the ground, and we'll discuss your body's positioning in some more depth to be able to explain that note of using our legs. All right, so right now we would say your stride is very, very, very short. Okay, we want to create some length and some timing and some rhythm in this stride, and we can see you're hitting very much tippy toe first, which is a way of saying I'm not trying to get out there. I'm just trying to put it there. I'm just trying to But we got to be aggressive. We got to get this leg up and we got to go. We got to be getting in that ground hard. And the only way we're going to get in that ground hard is if we're going flat-footed. And the only way it's going to be flat-footed and hard is if we're going forward and not just trying to be here, right? We want to get out. We want to get her going. What we can also see is that if you had a belt buckle on, your lower half has not rotated at all, okay? When we pitch, we have our lower half and our upper half, and we need this lower half to rotate towards the target as much as it possibly can before that front foot hits the ground. And then once that front foot hits the ground, now it's the upper half's turn to fire around. And if they do it in that sequence, this and not this creates power. If it's this together, not much power. But if it can be this and then this, When this goes first, all of this power now gets shot up to here for this to use. So we need to learn how to rotate this back foot, rotate this back knee, drive this back hip, open this front foot, open this front knee, and reach out our body, our lower legs to get more out. If I used a clip here of DeGrom, just watch the length of his legs. Watch how his body travels down that mound. Bam. Look at the length in that right there. Right? We put that there. And then we go to yours. And we can just see that difference in stride length. You can also see the difference in that front leg. Your front leg knee is angling into the on-deck circle of third base dugout. DeGrom's knee is angled right towards that catcher. Same thing with his front foot. Nice and flat in the ground versus yours just on the heels. Right, we can see that back leg reaching away from that pitching rubber, and we can see yours is still connected onto that pitching rubber. Okay. If we then showed what that looks like from the front view, we got DeGrom right here with that front foot. Bam, in the ground. Bam, in the ground. And we can see what? His belt buckle from here. From here, we can't even see any of your belt because it's hidden by this leg that's in the way. So we take yours back. We take DeGrom back. You guys are in very similar positions right here with your lower halves. But then he rotates the legs forward as they're in the air. And your legs just kind of go down. All right. We need to see that belt buckle, and we don't of yours. So we just got to learn how to use our legs when we're pitching. We don't throw with the arm, we throw with the body. We also got a lot of things going on with your arm here. If you just watch back here, your arm's path and your wrist does a lot of curling, right? Definitely don't want to be doing that. Okay, we want our hand to be relaxed. We don't want it tight and tense and all up here. This is going to cause a lot of timing issues. Just relaxed hand. Because your hand's so here, now it's getting way behind you. And now it's got to look at that turn. Now it's got to turn all the way around. And now we got to play catch up. We got to get back up on time. And then now when that foot's hitting the ground, our arm is way down here. Which means when we go to throw, it's going to have to go way up here just to try to come back down again. And that's going to be incredibly stressful on our arm to make throws where our arm is going up like that. Our arm needs to already be loaded. Something to think about is like a 90-degree angle here in the pit, 90-degree angle in the elbow. We bring that back to DeGrom, and that's exactly where he is right here. All right, when that foot gets in the ground, it's time to throw. So we need this arm loaded, ready to throw. So there's that roughly that 90-degree angle and that 90-degree angle. So now his arm does not have to go up to throw. It goes forward to throw. All right, you see that? His arm is just going forward to throw. We do that same thing for you. And your arm is going up to throw. So I didn't mark down in your note section the hand because I definitely want to attack the lower half, but we do need to really focus on this as well. This is a big timing issue that's going to potentially lead to arm injuries because we're not able to get to where we want to be on time. So definitely want to be addressing that wrist hook you got going, in addition to learning how to use your lower half. All right, we're gonna be working on getting our backside leg rotated and driven forward, not just spinning in place. So we can just be sitting on a bench, in a chair, anywhere we can have our hands on either side of it to keep our upper body squared and stable. And we're just gonna be driving through that big toe, which means we're folding over that big toe to get the foot forward versus spinning in place where the knee stays in place. We need to drive the foot forward to get the knee to go forward versus spinning in place and the knee not going forward. So we can just sit on that bench, on that chair, and just work and practice this movement here of folding over that big toe, driving your foot forward, getting your heel to be in front of your toe at the end. This drill is going to help us be able to learn and train getting our front leg to complete its rotation by the time that front foot hits the ground, meaning that kneecap getting towards that target, getting the foot more towards that target. So that way our back hip can come through. That way our belt buckle's more towards our target. So this first series here, we're just picking that foot up and we're just rotating it. We're starting it in our bad angle and we're getting it into the good angle. And our second stage here is we're gonna set something out in front of us and we're gonna work on gaining ground as we finish that rotation. So it's closed and then it's finished rotated, it's open at the end. We're starting in our bad position that we're currently getting into, and we're moving into the position we want to be in. We can see how that helps get all the lower half to rotate. All right, we got some single leg plyos here. We're just gonna be doing, first off, side hops, back and forth over the line. We got two perspectives here, straight up and from what it looks like on the side, making sure we're keeping that knee nice and high and keeping those hands nice and relaxed, meaning they're not bouncing and that leg's not bouncing as either as our body weight shifts back and forth now over top of that line. And we got clocks, so we're gonna hop in basically 4 squares, 4 corners. You can challenge yourself by not just looking straight forward, but then also looking down your shoulder like you're looking at your catcher. And then we have the opposite direction that we were just going. So we were going counter, now we're going clockwise. Then we have just continuous side hops. Again, keeping that knee nice and high, those hands nice and relaxed. Keeping that weight back so we can keep driving that body forward while staying balanced. And then bring yourself back all the way from where you started, trying to keep everything to the side as best you can and trying to stay in a nice straight line. Then we got the same thing, what that looks like from the side, trying to keep everything nice and relaxed. All right, Mr. Lefty, we got your 2 videos here synced up to the moment that that ball is coming out of your hands. We'll let you watch it 2 times through. The second time, it'll get paused for a brief moment at the moment of foot strike or when that leg lift leg gets planted back into the ground, little halfway point in our delivery. And then we will discuss the note that was given to you at the beginning of your chapter here. And that note was get front leg rotated on time. And on time is referring to that front foot getting into the ground. So once that front foot, boom, gets into the ground, we're looking to have that lower half rotated as much as we can while the upper half is fighting to stay back. And we call that our separation of our upper lower half or our hip and shoulders. So we'll pause that here at that moment of foot strike, boom. And what we can see right now, if we go backwards in time, and again, we're looking for when this foot is going bam, 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 bam into the ground. And if we look how it's getting there, it's very much the inside part of my foot is hitting that ground first. And the reason that is because this knee is just inside of our body, which is going to obviously make the foot really lean to the inside. We need to think about getting this to rotate, rotate, rotate to the target. We don't want it to open up. We want it to rotate forward. And when that happens, it's going to allow our hips to come through. Our pelvis is going to get involved, right? And now we're sending and driving energy with our lower half forward, which then can get picked up from our upper half and used to accelerate our throw with. But when that lower half does not get going, and in fact it's now blocking our ability to rotate, it's going to slow down and impact and hinder our upper body's ability to rotate forward, because the upper body is going to have to do some things to get that lower body in a good position. And then the upper body's got to hope that it can get itself back to what it normally does and not be impacted by that extra movement and get thrown off. So what we'll do is we'll watch this knee here and this foot here as we slowly progress through the rest of our delivery here. And we're going to see how that knee has got to get out. This knee has got to get back out of the way in order for this back hip to have the spacing and the clearance to drive forward. And now that that knee has had to get bowed out to allow our backside the space to come through, we can see what that bowing of that knee this way has impacted our upper body in that direction as well. So now we're just tilting and losing some of our energy in our direction outside of our lane, which is going to minimize our power and our command, and it's going to add just a little bit of stress onto that arm that's not necessarily needed. So if I gave you a big leaguer real quick, and we can just use Jacob deGrom, that's a guy that everyone should know the name of. We'll let this play through here for you, and what we're going to do is we'll pause it and really slow it down. As he's getting into that ground, we can see that that front knee is in a, like right here, that kneecap, if it had a laser on it, it's shining out this way. And if that foot had a laser on it, it's shining out that way. And we need those lasers to get shine towards our catcher to the best of our ability as that foot gets into the ground. And we can see, bam, foot in the ground. There goes that belt buckle again, driving towards that target. See that kneecap going towards that target. The foot's more going towards that target. That's given the spacing needed for that back hip, bam, to go forward. All while that upper half stays tall. So now his rotation gets to go forward. He doesn't have to arch and lean over into first base dugout just to make that throw. See how he's able to go straight towards that target. Straight towards that target to make that throw. Versus having to get this big lean with the upper body just to help get the knee to get out of the way. So we're using the upper body to try to change the lower body instead of just changing the lower body so the upper body can stay the same. So our big thing is getting that front leg to rotate forward a lot more than it currently is, so that way the rest of our body's alignment can stay true and strong, so we can send the power forward, rotate it forward versus it flying open. So if I gave you one more big league look, but we went from the front, and we'll use the DeGrom again, and we pause it at that same point in time. Boom. We can just see how much more that front leg is getting rotated before that foot hits the ground. So there's DeGrom and there's you. All right. We take you guys back. We got similar positions with the front leg. Obviously, you got the bend, right? More traditional, like a Granke style bend, or any of your Japanese pitchers have that nice bend right there, keeping their front leg closed. But ultimately, when it comes time to get it in the ground, we can see how much DeGrom is able to independently move that front leg to get it into the ground there versus yours. So that's what we mean about getting that front leg to get rotated on time. This drill is going to help us be able to learn and train getting our front leg to complete its rotation by the time that front foot hits the ground. Meaning that kneecap getting towards that target, getting the foot more towards that target. So that way our back hip can come through. That way our belt buckle's more towards our target. So this first series here, we're just picking that foot up and we're just rotating it. We're starting it in our bad angle and we're getting it into the good angle. And our second stage here is we're gonna set something out in front of us and we're gonna work on gaining ground as we finish that rotation. So it's closed and then it's finished rotated, it's open at the end. We're starting in our bad position that we're currently getting into, and we're moving into the position we want to be in. We can see how that helps get all the lower half to rotate. All right, Zaborowski. Hope I'm saying that correctly. We got your two clips here synced up to the moment that ball is coming out of your hand. We'll let you watch it a couple times here so you have an opportunity to see what your body is doing compared to the note that was given to you before this chapter began. And then after we play it through here a second time, we will discuss some things. So here's that halfway point once that front foot gets into the ground, and then the upper half's time to fire once that front foot gets in the ground. So the note that we gave you is, let me get my, sorry about that. I get my little drawing tool out here. Here we go. Our thing that we want to watch and work on is making sure that we rotate this lower half on time. Okay, and on time is going to be referring to that front foot getting into the ground. So that leg lift, leg that's coming up. Once that foot gets back into the ground, we're looking for that lower half to have been significantly rotated, while that upper half fights to stay closed. And when we do that, that's when we create that upper lower half separation, or our hip shoulder separation. Having that lower half being able to fire forward and this staying in place. So we'll pause that again when that front foot gets in the ground so we can take a look at that lower body. So right here we can see that front foot is making its way into the ground, into the ground, into the ground. And when it's in the ground, we can see that the hips have barely started to rotate. That lower half is just starting to rotate, but then that front foot's in the ground and it's stuck now. And if we said, here's that belt buckle, if you're wearing baseball pants, it's right here. That belt buckle is barely getting turned before that front foot gets into the ground. So that separation between our shoulders being aligned here and our hips being aligned here, as we're going down that mound, we're looking to see those hips start to fire and then those shoulders fire after that front foot hits the ground. And we can see right now, as that body is going into the ground, that lower half is barely rotating. So now when it's time to rotate, there's not going to be as much separation, and everything's going to rotate together. So what we'll notice is as we come out of this, every little bit that this back shoulder tries to rotate forward with, the back hip is also be going with it at the same time. And that's not a powerful sequence of movement. So the biggest thing for you and your development to see a huge change very quickly in the reduction of stress that's on your arm to make these throws, a jump in velocity when we do make this adjustment, and we are hopefully also going to start to see some extra movement get put on these pitches because we're not releasing the ball even with ourselves anymore, but we're going to be able to get out in front of ourselves at release, which is going to allow the ball to have more action on it. So if we look, because of everything, that ball is getting out of that hand just barely in front of your head, and we're trying to get it more out in front of that front foot. And if we were able to have that front leg and that entire lower half rotate on time, and for you, on time would be earlier or sooner, so that way the movement that the lower half wants to do has time to be completed before that, boom, foot gets in the ground. Boom, that toe's getting in the ground. That's going to make it tough to rotate. We need to see this rotate a little bit more, this rotate a little bit more, this get driven a little bit more, this knee open up a little bit more, this foot open up a little bit more, so that way the entire lower half as a whole gets fired towards that target more versus getting stuck because things don't want to rotate right away. So we got to learn how to get this leg to rotate while it's in the air versus being put on the ground and then start to try to rotate it around. So that's going to be our big thing, is learning how to use that lower body to create power and to be on time. If I just used one big league example from the side, let's see here. Let me pull up Mr. Skeens. We all know what Paul Skeens looks like. We all know who he is. Boom. So we see how as his foot is getting, boom, into the ground, how that belt buckle is almost, oops, what am I doing here? That belt buckle is almost all the way to the target while these shoulders are still facing us. That's that separation. Boom. Boom. The heel is not in the ground yet. Now it's in the ground. And we can see how much that belt buckle is going forward at this point in time. Come back to you. When your foot is hitting the ground, bam, right there, that belt buckle is going this way only. So that's the visual difference that we're looking for, is to be able to get this lower half to fire. And we can see that front leg specifically of his rotating in the air to get turned towards the catcher. Okay, so hopefully that visually helps you see what we're trying to do here. We got to get things rotated. And the big one for you is that front leg, but we can benefit from learning how to get the entire lower half rotated on time. All right, we're going to be working on getting our backside leg rotated and driven forward, not just spinning in place. So we can just be sitting on a bench, in a chair, anywhere we can have our hands on either side of it to keep our upper body squared and stable. And we're just going to be driving through that big toe, which means we're folding over that big toe to get the foot forward versus spinning in place where the knee stays in place. We need to drive the foot forward to get the knee to go forward versus spinning in place and the knee not going forward. So we can just sit on that bench, on that chair, and just work and practice this movement here of folding over that big toe, driving your foot forward, getting your heel to be in front of your toe at the end. This drill is going to help us be able to learn and train getting our front leg to complete its rotation by the time that front foot hits the ground, meaning that kneecap getting towards that target, getting the foot more towards that target. So that way our back hip can come through. That way our belt buckle's more towards our target. So this first series here, we're just picking that foot up and we're just rotating it. We're starting it in our bad angle and we're getting it into the good angle. And our second stage here is we're gonna set something out in front of us and we're gonna work on gaining ground as we finish that rotation. So it's closed and then it's finished rotated, it's open at the end. We're starting in our bad position that we're currently getting into, and we're moving into the position we want to be in. We can see how that helps get all the lower half to rotate.